What is up, everyone? Welcome to round 4 of the Portland Monthly Premodern Paper Magic Afternoons January tournament. We've got some pretty awesome decks that have not made it on camera yet. So without further ado, let's get into the deck lists. First up, we have John on red-green Goblins. This seems pretty standard except for the 3 Naturalizes and Goblin Tinkerer. I think that's a little higher than a normal list, and I imagine the 3 Naturalizes main are just because we have a pretty healthy amount of Survival of Fittest decks and Oath of Druid decks, so that does make a lot of sense in a very creature-heavy deck to run removal for that type of card. Sideboard wise, seems also pretty straightforward. 3 Pyrokinesis makes sense. Collar of the Claw against a control deck is a smart include. The Anarchy, one of, makes sense if you already have Naturalizes, and there is a 4th one in the side as well. Overall, a really strong list. My only complaint is he didn't submit a deck photo. So we get this beautifully generated one that probably doesn't have all the correct arts. I didn't go through and match video before making this. So besides that, awesome list. Can't wait to see how it plays out. Let's check out who his opponent is. And speaking of survival decks, we have Marshall on his 5-color recurring survival brew, and this is really cool. Not only are the altars in this fantastic, look at those recurring nightmares. He's got some altered lands in the style of legends, a whole bunch of other cool stuff, like just honestly a beautiful deck overall. But the deck itself is pretty awesome. The value down of survival of the fittest and then getting stuff back with recurring nightmare is pretty sweet. There's a Living Wish package as well, feeding the sideboard, which we'll go over later. But this is just a toolbox deck with every kind of answer you could possibly want, especially with this sideboard of 3 Dress, 3 Naturalize, some Pyroblast, Avalanche Riders, Get 2 Slinger, another Palancron, and then just other toolbox creatures like Monk Realist and Uktabi Orangutan, and even a Gilded Drake. Super cool list. Can't wait to see how it plays out. Let's get into the games. Okay, looks like we have John on the left and Marshall on the right. Now, John's already just going to be shipping it back. I guess he is on the play. Did not have a very interactive 7, I imagine. Marshall definitely gonna have to keep some early interaction, some ways to keep the pressure off that. I think that's Wall of Roots in hand is an excellent way to do that as well. Just a great blocker for early game while you build up your board. And John is gonna need to hopefully have an answer to probably what is an early survival. I think I see a survival actually in the hand of Marshall. Yes, I think I do. Ooh, there is. I think that was a Naturalize in John's hand. Alright, looks like we're putting one back. Yes, there is a Naturalize. Okay, so he does have, at the very least, a turn to answer in response. Oh, Marshall actually on the play first, I guess. Marshall keeping very quickly then, yeah. I mean, seeing a survival definitely makes it easy. Alright, looks like we got a Mog Fanatic out and pass. And a Wall of Roots. Hedging the survival a little bit. Wasteland coming out. Do you hit the, is that a Karplusan Forest, I think? On the other side? It is altered. I think it is. Yeah, it's the Ice Age one. One thing with all of Marshall's altars, I'm not sure if you guys noticed, is they're all Christmas themed. And that's for a few reasons, I guess. I talked to him about it, and both him and his partner are very big into Christmas, and he does the Christmas themes through the artist because she gets a kick out of it as well. All right, looks like we're going to Wasteland the forest, or the Kabluster Forest. And now is when the survival comes down. Yep, there it is. And pass. All right. There is some pressure on board. At the very least, he can start pushing through incremental damage. Notably, these players do not have the dice on the mat. I'm just noticing that. So we'll have to go by pen and paper. I believe Marshall is at now 17. And yeah, we're gonna naturalize the survival here. We're gonna be grabbing... It looks like he was potentially thinking about Squee. Oh no, an Avalanche Rider. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Get your opponent off of mana. And down to 19, I guess. One of them's at 17, one of them's at 19. I believe, yeah, I believe Marshall's actually the one at 19. Now down to 18. All right. This is why dice are important. So blowing up a Rashad Port, immediately getting another Rashad Port. So the Avalanche Rider, unfortunately, not getting the job done here. Notably, it had haste. It could have swung in for some damage, but holding up blockers makes a lot more sense. And here's a pile driver. Take a point off the forest and pass. It's like a bird's in hand. Take a point. And just pass. Oh, paying for the echo. I see what's going on. All right, another red source. So he's got another Mog Fanatic. And a Wasteland, I think, maybe. Potentially being a little flooded here. Thinking through the attacks. Alright, gotta sack the Prospector. Oh, it was a Ringleader. Revealing quite a few goblins. Yeah, only missing one. Looks like a Matron, War Leader, and another, or War Master and another Ringleader. I'm probably butchering the goblins' names too. Interesting. Okay, so trading the pile driver with the Avalanche Rider as well. All right, looks like we drew another survival. That's pretty huge. With plenty of creatures in hand, it looks like too. All right, survival comes down. Activate survival. Oh, actually just playing out of birds. Okay. 2 more birds in hand. You just play one more blocker, take a point of damage, go into 14. Yep, just playing out another blocker, playing it a little safe. Totally fine considering the cards he knows are in John's hand. And I believe that's a Goblin King that he just drew. Which is pretty great if he can get it down. Marshall not having much in the way of threats right now, but definitely has a way to stay alive at least this turn. It's only 3 mana up for John. He does have to kind of pick and choose his battle here. Alright. Play out the guy that makes things a little cheaper. And a little stronger. And swing in with all. Alright, so just blocking that one. Gonna activate in response. Pitching the Palancron. Okay, here we go. Probably at this point getting Squee just to get that free roll. Or does he need to start bringing out some kind of protection? Looks like Deranged Hermit is probably going to be the choice. Yep. Okay, and he can play it. Get those Mighty Squirrel blockers up. Very good answer for a against a Goblin deck, assuming John does not draw Gem Palm. Alright, gonna sack the play out a Mog Fanatic, sack, kill one of the birds. And Marshall needing the land here. Alright, gonna make a green. Actually pitching the Hermit. Interesting. Okay. That is very interesting. What are we grabbing? Okay, that makes a lot of sense. This one is on ETB you gain 5 life. I don't remember exactly the name, but get a little more breathing room, makes sense. Gonna take a point and is gonna play out a reoccurring nightmare. Sacking the reoccurring nightmare, bring the deranged hermit back. Alright, now we see the power of this deck. Get an army of kids. I'd like to know the story with these scroll tokens. Maybe there is his partner's baby photos. Very strange. I would love to know the meaning behind that. I'm sure it's a very sentimental thing. But yeah, got a whole mess of 2/2 baby squirrels. John finding another land. So now having a little bit more mana to play with now that his Skirk Prospector's in the graveyard. Kind of thinking out his next play. Knowing that there's a recurring nightmare now in Marshall's hand makes it a little bit tougher. Alright, gonna play out the matron. And what do you get here? Do you get the sharpshooter or the incinerator? Doesn't quite have the mana to play sharpshooter yet. Oh no, he does actually, because it's one cheaper. Okay, yeah, that's what he's gonna grab. Shooting the deranged hermit makes a lot of sense here. Now he can just get a... Oh no, because then it untaps and he basically just kills the board. Yeah, so this is a great play from John. Kill the hermit, can untap and kill all those things. Swing in for a boatload of damage. Going to 5. And Marshall is just gonna... Well, no, he's just gonna pack it up here. We're on to game number 2. Here we are in game number 2. John is going to be starting to play, and it looks like we got dice on the table now. I know it's an extra thing to track. I also like using paper to track because it's easier to see where a mistake might have been made if life totals are ever inconsistent. Oh, John looks like he's going to be shipping it back. But I do appreciate whoever pointed out to them that we should be running the dice as well. It really helps me doing commentary and you guys also just following along with the game. So huge props to that. Marshall's gonna keep his 7. Looks like City of Brass, a Flame Tongue Kavu, I think a Bird of Paradise, Fetch Land. Not really sure what else is in there, but pretty solid starting hand. I didn't see a survival. Maybe not wanting to rely too heavily on that. Considering he knew his opponent had at least a main deck, at least one main deck naturalize game 1. And we'll see if John gets a better 6 here. Looks like we got Tormod's Crypt. Is that 2 naturalizes? Yeah, maybe put one of those back. It might be a little over sideboarded. It looks like just 1 creature. Alright, turn 1, Bird of Paradise, go. We're just gonna be bopping along here. Ooh, drawing the Goblin King again, too. Mountain, and let's just Mog Fanatic the bird. It's not really a Bolt the Bird. Is it a... Ping the bird? Goblining the bird? I don't know. Gobbling? I kind of like gobbling the bird. All right, we got a wall of blossoms coming down. Turn 2 and pass. Thinking about what he wants to play here. Well, looks like we're gonna play out the crypt. And I totally missed that Marshall just played out his Legends Altered Plains. Both these decks are absolutely beautiful, by the way. I think John has, I can't tell if it's Japanese or Korean fetch lands. There's been some other cards as well that were foreign language. Very beautiful decks, just both all around. I wish we had gotten a deck photo from John. Maybe next time if he makes it on camera for next month. Looks like a werebear in hand. Take a point. Yep, just gonna play out a werebear. Playing werebear immediately after a Tormod's Crypt is not exactly the best. And it's almost as bad as drawing a lackey on turn 4. Unfortunate, but it's a creature, so as long as he can clear the way for it, it could be potentially good. Marshall gonna fetch here. And I imagine just grabbing a mountain. I don't think this deck actually runs swamps despite being 5 colors. That 5 colors is definitely through, or mostly through reanimation and survival of fittest. But we are going to be paying 4 here, and is that Flame Tongue coming down? Or there's something else in hand? Nope, Flame Tongue's coming down, shoot the lackey. We don't want any of that. And a pass. And it's really looking like John is needing another land drop here. I think this is a Gem Palm Incinerator. I think he's cycling it. Is that what's happening? So fetching for the forest, which you probably want to get, yeah. Okay, yeah, so cycling to draw a card and pass. Leaving the doors a little wide open for Marshall. Very tempting to just start laying in the damage, and that Avalanche Rider coming down is huge. Take out the mountain as haste, so swinging with everybody. That's a big chunk of damage. Go to 12. Does draw a land finally, and no, is just gonna pack it up. That is game number 2. Here we are in game number 3. That was a blistering fast game number 2, and it wasn't even done by the aggro player. So I'll be excited to see how this one resolves. It didn't look like John had a red source there, so he's gonna ship it back, and I think Marshall's shipping it back as well, so both players going down to 6. And while we're waiting for people to resolve mulligans, I just want to thank everyone for watching. You've made it this far. I appreciate you. Make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss any more of these matches. This is round 4 of 7 total. We did a cut to top 4 after round 5. So there's a very good chance you're going to be seeing, well, at least one, maybe both of these guys back on camera at some point, depending on their records. And yeah, if you're in the Portland area, make sure you check out portlandpremodern.com, where we have info on the Discord and meetups. We do weekly meetups, and we have the monthly tournament. And yeah, it's a good time overall. All right, looks like John's unfortunately going to be mulling to 5. Marshall is going to keep, it looks like. Hot Wall of Blossoms, couldn't really tell too much what else in there. Looks like a fetch land and a forest. So he's got lands and spells. Always good. And John really going to need a aggressive start to this game, so hopefully this 5 is going to be a lot better. Drawing another naturalize. Looking like a lot of lands potentially, but at 5 you kind of have to keep with what you got. Looks like he has a gem palm incinerator as well, and we're just going to keep it off with mountain and go. And fetch land, pass. I think that's a Skirk Prospector he just drew. No, a Goblin Lackey. That's a pretty good draw. Really putting the onus on Marshall to put up a blocker. Gonna fetch here, and I think that Wall Blossom is definitely coming down. Gonna get probably a mountain here, I'd imagine. Yep, that's sweet. Legends Altered Mountain. I'm gonna have to find out what artist he had do those, because they are pretty sweet. Of course, I barely run any decks that use only a few basics, so it might get a little pricey, but they are very well done. And it's just gonna pass. Do you have a way to kill the Wall Blossoms? That's the big question right now. Well, and the follow-up question is, do you have a threat that's worth putting in with the Lackey if you do? Hey, a War of the Roses stamp. That's our local old school tournament. I think it's on its 2nd or 3rd year now. That's a very cool card to see. And out comes a Werebear. And there goes a Werebear with Gem Palm Incinerator. Taking care of it. Drawing a card. Alright, definitely at the point where there are too many lands, but a Ringleader, definitely a good get. Unfortunately not drawing much. And the onus back on Marshall to start doing something. That 0/4 blocker can take care of one guy, but eventually that damage is gonna start adding up. A Flame Tongue Kabu is an excellent answer. Let's... Now that is a good question. Do you kill... I guess you do kill the Lackey. The Ringleader doesn't do much after it's hit the battlefield. I think he might have just drawn a second one. Alright, first up, make all goblins cheaper. No, he actually drew a second War Boss, or whatever the one is where it gives all goblins haste and one cheaper. And +1. Does a lot. Alright. That is a big draw from John. And I'm not sure what Marshall just drew right there, but definitely not sure on mana. Maybe missing a specific color, not having a city could be hampering a little bit. Alright, we got an Avalanche Rider. And what do you take care of? Probably the Wasteland? Yeah, that makes sense. You wanna hold up your mana. Even though you don't have a target for it yet, maybe Marshall was hedging and just having his pain lands in hand. Sharpshooter coming down and pass. Luckily no targets to go on a rampage with. No squirrels this time. And Marshall looking at what's in hand. He is going to pay the echo cost for the Avalanche Rider. Gets a Plains now. And is just going to pass. He does have a recurring Nightmare, but choosing not to Well, actually can't play it out, I should say. Does not have access to a black source. So maybe the deck does actually run a swamp or two. That would make more sense having the enchantments. I mean, you have the birds, you have the city brasses. That is 8 sources, but is that enough for what is arguably a very key part of the deck? I think he drew a Bloodstained Mire, right? Interesting. Moving to combat. A very interesting swing. I believe John can just block it and not lose anything, right? Or is I guess it's only a 2/2. Yeah, very interesting. Alright, creature dead. Did you get the black source? You did. Okay, so I kind of see what he's doing here. Potentially getting the reoccurring nightmare. Get in the swamp. Sack the swamp before you have a chance to respond. Get out the Flame Tongue Kavu. Ping you for 1, might as well, right? Yeah. Take care of the sharpshooter. Ooh, and then play out a little bit of extra protection. Very least, he can block and then sack. Getting another 4 life. It's just going to pass here. Marshall, I think, has, at this point, stabilized the board very nicely. Gonna play out the Reoccurring Nightmare, sack the Kavu, get the Avalanche Riders, yeah, blow up your Pain Land. Gets another black source. He's gonna be able to get that Kavu again. And the power of Reoccurring Nightmare being shown in full force here. This is a this is what I was saying about this being a sweet deck. And that is going to be game. Marshall taking it down in 3. Great play from both players. Thank you guys so much. Thank all of you guys for watching too. Make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss some great games. I can assure you that Marshall is going to be showing up on camera at least one more time to show off this very sweet brew. And yeah, have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you next time.